Welcome to Wrestling with Goals.
See, Believe, and Achieve podcast, where we delve into the minds of elite athletes and coaches to uncover their secrets behind their success. I'm your host, Sean Geris, former university wrestling coach, D1 wrestler, national champion, Olympic trials medalist, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a three-time world team coach in grappling, and author. Join me as we explore the realms of training, mindset, goal setting, overcoming adversity, and various coaching methodologies in the world of sports.
This is part 2. Hope you enjoy.
You know, I love the fact that you brought up mindset. You know, as you were talking there, that was the whole thing. I'm thinking, this is about mindset. This is about, you're introducing these kids to, look at wrestling at a different perspective. And I think Canada, well, you know what? So my daughter, she's in school, Renee, first year kinesiology. She's taking a theory of kinesiology course. And one thing she brought up and talked to me about is the two different styles of coaching, European style of coaching. And then there was this more aggressive American kind of style of coaching as well.
Yeah.
And it has been, there's a lot of information in academia about this. And she's supplied me with a few of the articles, but, our adopted philosophy here in Canada is like, this is for fun. We're not competing against each other. We're competing for, to make ourselves a better person. When you clash with a mindset that's, okay, folks, I'm coming in to tear your head off. Because again, that's what Steve Fraser did to me. He tore my head off. When you come into a room and clash, those two styles don't work well together.
No.
I think the Canadian population has to realize that, that mindset has to change for our wrestling age. There's many other things, and I think we've talked about that off camera too, and maybe we'll get into that. Excuse me, again. But the mindset is the biggest one. I think that people have to get through it, and that's a lot of sports here up in Canada, where you have to change your mindset if you want to compete on a world stage. You can't have that kind of meek mindset. Well, I'm going to go and compete, and I'm going to be, okay at it. No, you got to go in there. I'm like, every time I'm in the wrestling room, I'm going to tear your head off. You're not going to score on me, and if you do score on me, I am going to come back at you tenfold because it isn't happening. And that's and then your cardio has to be in play for that and everything.
Yeah.
But there's other factors too as well, that is affecting especially our sport. One of the things I think, that's the aggressive manner, the mindset and the aggressive manner. When I looked at folk style wrestling, and maybe you can add a little bit to this, but when I transferred to folk style wrestling versus freestyle wrestling, I found freestyle wrestling appears more kind of a relaxed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's with, I probably get some hate mail for this, but like a passive kind of style. When you go into the American style and you have to fight for every single thing, when you're being ridden, you have to fight to get out and escape. You have to, if you're on top, you have to fight to keep them down. You're constantly wrestling. When that kind of style of wrestling is transferred over to freestyle, that's a mindset. That is a style. That is an aggressive nature that is hard to emulate. If you're not. You're kind of dealing with apples and oranges at the when it comes to that sort of thing, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Americans and I talk to Americans and I've asked this question before, but people will say the reason why they're doing so better on the international stage is because of funding, and yeah, that's a small portion of it. I think, well, maybe not a small, but it is a portion of it. Grassroots programs and stuff like that. But I think for me, opening my eyes to the American style of wrestling really showed me that it's different. It really is. The two sports that wrestling, freestyle, even freestyle wrestling down in the U.S. is different from what we do up here, and that's why we're getting we get destroyed internationally by an American.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm glad that you touched on the mindset and the folk style, because for us, we've been, like I said, we're lucky. We're right here on the border, right? I'm half an hour from the border where I am, and so we're able to, especially our young kids, we're able to take get up early in the morning, drive to a tournament, and then come back. But the folk style mindset is so different than the freestyle mindset. On top of that, though, I believe that it's that's a social mindset as well too. I'll give an example, and I think I gave it the other day. We had our Canadian, I believe it was the U20, yeah, the U20 team that came back from the World Championships, right? I don't think as a team they scored 10 points. I think the women did okay. The men, right, not so good. So we'll touch on the men's side, okay?
Okay.
I believe it was like 8 points, I think, as a total team. Right? I could be wrong, but there was a bulletin that came out of Canada Wrestling that said that, and I should have looked back on it. But anyway, the gist of it was like Canada Wrestling, their team learned a lot from the last World Championships. And then I said on Facebook, right, I just basically said the question, so what did you learn, right? You tell us what you actually learned from it, because that's, if we took the totality of our entire team this year in 2024, we're talking about Olympics, Cadet Worlds, right? And so, Cadet Worlds, we did well. One person, okay, who trains predominantly in the U.S., right? Right. So let's just tell the story as it is, right? Trains predominantly in the U.S. I've been wrestling for a long time. The entire family trains predominantly in the U.S. And then we had 2 silver medalists at U23s, right? Didn't score in the finals, right? Which is fine, and I actually applaud them, right? They did very, very well. But totality as a team, we're talking from the Olympics, seniors, U17, U20, U23. It's not a very good look, right? And so people were saying, well, the mindset was you should be thankful for getting to the World Championships, right? And my mindset is, well, just go buy a ticket and just have a vacation. Why? I don't believe that it's a mentality of the athletes at all. The athletes want to go there and actually compete and win. But I believe that as a program, we're not setting them up properly, right? We're not setting them up properly at all. And so when you talk about the difference, like let's say folk style, and they're more aggressive and so forth, well, you can emulate that in your room, right? I mean, you can emulate that in your room somehow. Well, why don't we take some of our guys down when they're younger to get into the folk style program, like you see Dave Mayer doing with his guys, right? You see how here Mensa doing with his guys, right? So why don't we do that? Why don't we take that advantage of that particular program there, right? Why aren't we realist with our athletes to say that yes, we understand that the rest of the world, the rest of Canada is all about fluff and hush hush and all this other stuff and equality and all this, but once you step outside of our border, people are trying to take your heads off. So that's not going to work. And so if you want that mindset, don't waste your time, right? You can do other things with your time, right? So I believe that we need to start taking more advantage of, the border that's like right next door. We have the number 1, 2 program right next door to us, and it's open for us to go out and compete there. So why don't we compete there, right? Why aren't we, nothing against the youth sports here, but why aren't we pushing our top athletes to get into the NCAA Division I, right? You've seen the results, right? Our two top male athletes right now, right? 2 of our top male athletes at 65 kg and heavyweight, they're both product of NCAA Division I, right? So why are we doing things like that, right? So change our mindset if we want to compete with the rest of the world, right? I think, especially as even with our women's program, right? I remember a few years ago, I was at there was a coach, I believe it was from Mitch from EC Jury. He had said, why aren't we focusing on the Pan Ams? Because everybody in the Pan Am seems to be catching up to Canada, and we're not pulling ahead. So why aren't we focusing on Pan Ams? Why are we sending all our kids to the Worlds to go and maybe win a match and come back? Why aren't we focusing heavily on the Pan Ams? And so a little mindset shift like this that we need to do as a country, right? To get our athletes prepared and give them a fair chance at the rest of the world, and be honest with some of these guys and say, if you're just going to be fluff like this, don't go compete with the rest of the world, because those guys, it's a professional thing for them. And I don't like I said, it sounds, and when athletes hear this, I'm not talking about the athletes themselves. I believe that we're doing you athletes as a disservice, because I don't believe that we're preparing you properly to go out and compete, and you're basically wasting your life because of us, right? And when I say us, I'm throwing myself in there as well too. we need to do a lot more to prepare them with that mindset. They should be going down and competing with those U.S. athletes in the folk style and getting to those freestyle tournaments, right? I look at even from here in BC. Let's say there's nationals are in Ontario. Well, if it's not a national qualifier, I don't want to send any of my athletes to it.
Yeah.
What for? I'm gonna spend money for them to go across the country for what? Just to say you're the best in the country. Well, if they can get into the Northwest Regionals, I know if they can medal the Northwest Regionals, they're one of the top wrestlers in the world.
Speaking with one of my athletes' parents the other day, and I was telling him the exact same thing. The way or the cost for so this year, I believe his nationals are going to be out in Edmonton. So it's a little bit of a trek for us. One, it's going to cost us some money. And then entering it, there's this entry fee that is, that you as an athlete have to absorb. And, I can tell you, so if he goes and he wins the nationals, maybe he'll get an opportunity to compete, somewhere else internationally, but he'd probably get beat up. I would rather have him go to the U.S. nationals and see where he stands there, and then use that as a barometer for training after that. Because I don't think because you are setting the kid up for failure when, we as coaches are failing, we send them all that way and they're thinking, yeah, I got to go. And then sometimes they don't produce. Maybe they do. But now you think you're ready for the Pan Ams? Probably not. Right? That's what we're seeing. Oh, sorry.
Am I there? Yeah.
We're back. You're good. It's still recording. Yeah. So, that's the thing. I think there's a cost that is prohibited. It's actually, you talked a little bit about funding. Funding has been an issue with wrestling up here in Canada since my dad wrestled in 1960s up until, when he passed away, it was still an issue.
Yeah.
We haven't learned. We have models down in the States that, and this is the thing. I think people make excuses about, well, the funding's not there. Well, you're telling me that you just got funding in 2005 from an organization that was able to pay you and your wrestlers to get to a different level. So it's all about, we talk about wrestlers with, the grind. We got to do that with our mindset when it comes to actually looking for those people that will support your program, because those are people out there that are willing to throw money at programs that are producing young kids, young athletes, or mentoring young kids.
Yeah,
I know for a fact, because my professional job, I will tell you, we have mentorship programs, and we're always getting sponsorship through different organizations. So it's there. I think we as coaches, we need to kind of roll up our sleeves and do a little better job about that. Even our maybe our governing bodies, maybe they can help out. I know some of them do to a certain extent, but they're understaffed, and they need to. It's the other thing with a podcast like this. We need to help point them in the direction. They may look at a podcast like this and hear you talking, or hear me talking, and go, you know what? They're just bashing the sport. We're not bashing the sport. What we're doing is pointing you in the right direction. What we've seen as problems for a long time need to change. And if there's not a voice out there telling people to change, we just kind of go with the status quo. I think, and then I've been around wrestling long enough, and I know that things haven't changed much. I've seen it for my wrestlers. My dad told me the same stories, and I'm just like, well, why is this not working? Like, what is going on? What do we need to change? And then guys like you, when we have conversations like this, you start to say mindset's one, right? We go into funding, another. There's much more too that I could go in as well. I mean, I'll talk about this real quick, but one of my pet peeves is the university system not utilizing dual meets, because you have all these tournaments that are, you want to promote wrestling, here you go, right? And I've seen, 3,000 people at my dual meets, cheering me on as I'm wrestling, right? In the US, you don't see that up here.
No.
Right? And the reason why that is because nobody has bought into watching freestyle wrestling, because it's a tournament. So if I want to go and watch a wrestling tournament, I have to wait all day to watch my wrestlers. And I will tell you, and I'll tell you, So I was just at a tournament, and I'm not bashing the Mat Men. I know they took on a big thing, but at the Mat Men tournament this weekend, I waited 8 hours for my first wrestler, 8 hours for her to wrestle. Now, as a parent, as a spectator, that is unacceptable, and that's what kills the sport. From a spectator perspective, you can't do that. So with a dual meet, and this is why I don't like the way youth sport is promoting their sports, and I tried to change that at York University when I was there. Dual meets, what you have is you have a buy-in. You have us against them, right? You can build that entire rivalry like you have down in the U.S., football, Michigan, Ohio State. You can build that with that sort of thing. And you got people that can understand the sport. Okay, there's a win, there's a loss. There's a win, there's a loss. Okay, we're up by 2 points. Okay, great. We're up by 3 points. And you cheer on that team. Now you don't cheer on just that one person. You're cheering on the team. But we've taken that away from youth sports. And if you look up into the crowds, at a tournament, it's generally just wrestlers.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important announcement.
Looking for top-tier healthcare in the GTA? Look no further than the Core Optimum Health Center. Founded by Dr. Pat Graham, official chiropractor for the Toronto Blue Jays, their clinic offers a wide range of services including physiotherapy, chiropractic care, acupuncture, massage therapy, naturopath, and more, all in a caring professional environment. They also are proud partners with the Shift Concussion Management Program, offering the latest concussion care and online neurocognitive impact testing at their Mississauga location. At the Core, your health is their priority. Visit the Core Optimum Health Center today and experience industry-leading care.
Just for us, yeah. How many wrestlers can you get at a tournament equals your audience? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because when we first started taking our guys down to the US, so if we take it out just in the general audience, they were having that same issue. USA Wrestling was having that issue, right? So I would take, let's say, a 10-year-old down to a tournament, and he would sit and he would sit and he would sit and he would wait. Oh, he'd have a match and he would sit and he'd sit, and it's like 3 o'clock he'd have another match, right? And then by then, a parent, my entire day is gone, and then I have to drive home, go do whatever, right? So if you look at what they did all across nationally, they said, okay, kids are done at 12, latest 12:30, right? So I could take my kid to a tournament, and I could say I remember the first time somebody was like, oh, hey, what time are you gonna be back? And I was like, whatever, we're going down across the border. It was like an hour drive. And I said, I should be back somewhere around like 3:30, right? And they're like, what, really? I'm like, yeah, he'll be done at like 12, right? And they're like, oh, well, that's different. I said, yeah, he'll be done at 12. So now you can imagine the difference between now when a parent says, okay, I got to go to a tournament. I say, okay, guys, got to go to the tournament. The tournament starts at this time, right? Because one of the things I find, even for us, and I don't know if it's like that all across Canada, but a lot of times our tournaments run late, and it's because it's registration and this and that. And what we found was when we go down to those tournaments in the US, and they say registration's at 8, ends at 8. As soon as it goes 7:59, 8 o'clock, it's shut off. And we've had dads who walked in 2 minutes late, right? We drove 2 hours to go to 2 hours to go to a tournament, get up at like whatever, dark 100. And he'd walk in, he's firing up, complaining, wow, I just came in 2 minutes late, came all the way from Canada. And then another dad like peeked his head out and said, hey man, we drove 3.5 hours. We got here in time. And they were like, no, our tournaments need to start on time, it needs to be efficient, and the kids need to be gone from, it's a systematic approach to things. Mm-hmm. So we go to a tournament, and I know for a fact I'm done. Doesn't matter what age group, I'm done, 3:30 the latest, right? And so that type of efficiency, now somebody can be involved, right? The dual meets that you talked about, 100%. You can't have spectators going, I'm coming in to watch so-and-so wrestle, right? A couple of people came in, and they're like, oh, hey, Bob, when are you going to wrestle? Oh, I'm at, match 56. And it's like, okay, well, 56. Okay, so 56 times approximately 8 to 10 minutes, unless you just get people teching people, right? How much time is that? Well, that's for one match. Hopefully Bob doesn't lose, because then he gets on the backside. So, and then what number are you going to be at? And so that's not, and then if you look at what we're competing against, for us, and I talk to a lot of teachers about this, right? Teachers who coach, Like, oh, we can't get the best kids because we're competing against basketball, volleyball, and so forth. Okay, fine. That's your mindset, fine. But have you actually done the research to realize that we're not competing against those sports? We're competing against television and video games. That's who we're competing against. So if you look at somebody who can get a quick fix from turning on an Xbox or PlayStation 2, now you're trying to compete against those particular machines and telling this kid that I'm going to be sitting here for X amount of long to get it. It's like, no. So our reality of how things work, we've got to get more into it. We got to get the research. We got to get the numbers. Like, we've got to pour a lot more into our sport if we want it to grow. And I'm not sure, right? And so, I mean, don't jump on me about this, but I'm not sure we have the right people who have the same passion for sport in the right places. I just gonna say it, man. I believe that we have a whole bunch of status quo people in those positions all across the country. If we really wanted our sport to grow, simple thing is, if I were to come into, I don't know, whatever hometown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would go and say, wow, this is this particular, let's say a high school team. That's a big high school team. Well, how'd you coach so-and-so? How'd you get to be like this? And then that person starts telling you how they grew this program. Well, at this particular stage, that person should be on some type of a committee that is, and we get a group of these guys, wherever, all across the country together as a committee, and they can go ahead and use their knowledge. Sorry, my fire alarm is going off out here. My wife's downstairs cooking. But they can use that knowledge to explain how they did it. How did they grow their program? Because if it can grow in one area, it should be able to grow in all those other areas. But we're not doing that. And it seems like whoever is in charge of growing the sport, I'm not sure who that is or what that body is, they haven't been able to do it. But it's the same. Like in any job, you'd be fired. I need you to grow sales by $1 million.
Yep.
It's been 10 years. You haven't done it. Okay, well, yeah, no, we're going to try something different. No, you're out of here. I need someone else in here that's actually can do it. Go find somebody who's done it. That's a simple thing. Go find someone else who's done it. We see here I might as well fire. Let's fire at it. We see here in BC Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Frank Mensah got passed over as the junior development coach.
Okay.
All right. Okay. That's fine. And the guys who got hired, they're great wrestlers as well. Right? No problem with that. But Frank Mensah has been developing programs since 2007.
Yep.
And has developed nationally successful programs, and he's developed programs that have gone regionally, so in different areas. So from 2 cities, 3 cities onto the island. Who would be the best person as a junior development coach? Who would be the best person? Wouldn't you look at that person and say, hey, how can we get you into a position where we can use your knowledge so that we can actually grow the sport? Because you seem to be doing that already, right? All across like, what's his face? Shane from Saskatchewan. Sorry, Shane, I'm butchering it. Okay, so he's been doing this, I don't know, ever since I've been a little baby. It seems like he's been doing this, and he's been doing it successfully. Why isn't he and some other guys in a position where they're actually putting together the Canadian Junior Development Program? If they've been doing it successfully for so long, they should be in a position. We should have a group of these guys in a position that put together that program because they know how to do it. They've been doing it in their province. They've been doing it with their clubs. So the top people who have been doing this for a long time need to be on these committees. So Canada Wrestling, whoever you're putting in these positions should already be doing this, right? So if they're the top programs, if they have the top programs in that arena, they should be in these positions to do this, right? Mm-hmm. Not, okay, you're in Saskatchewan, so you're competing against Ontario. No, we need a unifying body, right?
Yeah.
So that's just the end of the story, and we're not doing that. We just like I said, we use a sales analogy. We keep putting the person who's been failing to keep doing the same failing thing over and over again. And so we need to change that mindset.
Yeah, and it does go back to mindset, because I think that, Harold DeWeck has some work on the growth mindset. And I think it's very popular within the university, within teaching as well. You know, if you do any reading about that, it's about, you know, perseverance, you know, grit. The whole Detroit Lions football program is built on grit. It's basically the mindset of, you know, listen, don't take no for an answer. You know, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment in the section below. Your feedback fuels our journey to bring you more valuable content and stories from the realm of sports. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, believing in yourself, and achieving greatness. Thank you for listening.